to upload. Normally YouTube is a lot quicker. Anyway, ciao, hi, hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video, and tonight I want to focus on sticking on the theme of Black History Month and Black Empowerment. As it's Black History Month in America, as I said recently, I was hoping to finish off what I started yesterday on my plan for February, but I'm hoping to do part 3 tomorrow on the 3rd and part 4 on the 4th, I think, to spread those ones out a bit. So part 3 and 4 of that tomorrow, and the day after respectively. But yeah, today I'm hoping to focus on Black Empowerment for Mondays. I was thinking of calling it, I know I've used the title Black Mondays, as I say, in my quirky little way before, so I thought I'd do something a bit different. I actually called my siblings because I was going to ask them, or some of my siblings, to ask them for advice on what to entitle it and also what to cover, but I decided just to do this. I did call them, but then I didn't really go through asking them advice. Anyway, a nice side story, but as per usual, I thought I'd think of things normally that begin, or generally speaking, that begin with M for Monday, because of my patterns, or use of patterns. But I've been thinking about it for a while. But anyway, I think that covers everything for the intro, so I'm going to crack on with it. So in this series of videos, as I say, I want to talk about Black Empowerment on Mondays, like there's certain ideas for this theme. As I said before, I normally focus on different plans for different days, and that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's a good way to organise it or not, but that's just the way I do it. I'm just not used to doing it that way. So anyway, without further ado, I'll bring a message to you. But yeah, please let me know what you think, as ever. So I'll say these are points number 1 to 10. So here goes. So number 1, I think of like Money Mondays, and like, so in this case, supporting Black entrepreneurs, business people, bankers, and basically money makers, I guess, to see, to raise their profile and support them. So throughout this month, on Mondays especially, that's one of the things I hope to do mainly. But yeah, in different industries, I suppose business and banking, business, entrepreneurship, banking, and that kind of thing are the main ones, I guess. Well, is the main one, I suppose. It's all sort of connected. But yeah, I hope to cover that in more details. But I'll say Money Mondays and that kind of thing, but different industries and how they can make money and maybe connect together, network together, that kind of thing, in America and worldwide as well. So building a Black diaspora perhaps around the world, maybe even including allies like myself or potential allies like myself, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I hope that will be very empowering financially. I know they say money isn't everything, but it is quite important. I was thinking, I don't know how anyone could say like having a job is important, but making money is not, because that's one of the few, if not the only reason, or reasons, one of the few, if not only reason, life reasons to do why most people would do their job, I'm sure. I guess some people are encouraged to do that because it's the done thing or whatever. It's the same thing, or the done thing, maintaining the status quo or whatever. But as I say, a job can stand for just over broke, arguably, although not always the case, but in many cases it is. But yeah, financial empowerment, I think, could come through things like investments, running businesses together, which I hope to come to. And on that note, moving on, number 2, I wonder, as I say, how Black people in America, and maybe all across the world really, could connect together, like how African Americans could connect with Black Britons, and maybe even all around the world, like from Africa, Asia, Australasia. I know there's not a huge amount of Black people in Asia, but yeah, they can network together all around the world and learn from each other, and hopefully learn to. I was thinking of learning about and raising the profile of Black millionaires and even billionaires on Mondays, and maybe helping to make future Black millionaires and billionaires. Although, as I say, I know money isn't everything, as they say, but it would be good to financially empower them, but also give a voice to African Americans and other Black people around the world, for Black History Month at least. So yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. But as ever, I'd love to know what different people think. And I'm going to move on to point number 3. That's another one of my quirky patterns, drinking a cup of tea. I think of tea rhymes with three and that kind of thing. I normally make tea pretty much all day though, but anyway. But for point number three, I normally sip my tea and all that kind of weird stuff, being a bit quirky myself. But anyway, number three, I love to learn from black people, listen to black people and interview black people about their experiences and like what freedom means to the black diaspora. And I think, and to individuals as well from the black community. And I think that it would be interesting to, as I say, to interview black people for sometimes as individuals and sometimes as groups on Discord, Zoom, or whatever other platforms, whichever they find easier. And I'll try and learn how to use some of those platforms like Discord. I've never used it, but I'll try and learn how to use it maybe. But yeah, I'd love to interview them about their experiences on some different socio-economic backgrounds and talk about their challenges, the challenges and opportunities of being black and that kind of thing for the black community. And yeah, as I say, individuals, like what freedom means for them as individuals and as a group, and what they share with each other in common, the individual different views as well. And as a form of reparations, I think it would be cool for black and other minority people, maybe even networking together to be tax exempt, something I'm hoping to talk more about tomorrow without giving too much away, as it's a third. I don't know if I should have said that, giving a bit away there, but hopefully that's something I'll get around to talking about tomorrow. Meanwhile, but yeah, to me, they could network with. I think it'd be a good form of reparations, and they could network with other minorities, other minority groups like Asian, mixed race, Native American, Latino, Hispanic, and or even Jewish people, to talk about tax cuts, tax exemptions. I mean, there are probably lots of loopholes. I've mentioned in the past, like the financial guru Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks about tax-free wealth and like how to cut your tax bill. But maybe there's ways they could do it through lobbying as well. So even if they are in a JOB, they are just over broke, they could even without necessarily having to run a business, or maybe they could learn from each other about how to get tax-free wealth, how to keep money in their own community and support their own projects, like support things like black people in business, banking, tech, and areas, STEM, and that kind of thing, instead of giving money to the government, which could spend it on corrupted things like wars and weapons trade and things like, or even things that go against minority communities like the black community. But yeah, those are my opinions. Again, I'd love to know different people's opinions. I normally say I'm a big supporter of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Talking about number three. So if you disagree with me, please feel free to do so in the comments or whatever. Please don't hold back your feedback. But moving on to number four, another controversial view of mine, I suppose many of my views are controversial, is that I would love for black and other minority people, POC, people of colour, or even in America, even like non-WASPs, people who are not white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, to boycott the military, to boycott the weapons trade, the military industrial complex, and that kind of thing. And again, if they could be tax-free, they could instead spend money in their own communities, again, supporting black-owned businesses, banks, tech companies, technologists, and people in STEM and that kind of thing instead. And I think a cool thing, instead of joining the military, I think more black and other minority people should, and I'm focusing on the black community, but maybe they could network with others as well, learn from them, learn from each other, and leave militarism for the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, the WASPs, due to like how they ran America for so long. And I just think peace is much more preferable. So I don't believe in joining militaries or things like that. I talk about like the right to resist and that kind of thing. I love for black people to support me with that one as well. So hopefully we'll support each other as POC, but and as minorities. But I think more black people should be in the police, become lawyers, judges. Here in Britain, it could be barristers, solicitors, and that kind of thing. But in America, I think lawyers, judges, I don't think they have barristers, but people in the legal profession, basically, and as police, and police in their own streets and working together and looking at how to improve relations between black people and the police and that kind of thing. And say, as long as you obey the law, you should be treated the same as any other citizen. So yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. So the ones who are thinking of joining the military, or some even who are in the military, maybe could leave and instead join the police, or learn how to become judges, lawyers, and people like that in the legal profession, and also lobbying together, and that kind of thing. I think that was everything I pointed before. So moving on to number 5, I think like Black Ambition. I know there's the singer Pharrell Williams. I nearly said William Farrell's, that's the dyslexic version. But on a serious note, Pharrell Williams, if I pronounce his name right, who has like the project on like Black Ambition, supporting black-owned businesses, and I'd love to see how black people could be supported with their monetary ambitions, their financial ambitions. Like how can they be supported to run businesses and banks and things like that? How could there be more of a campaign to hashtag buy black, please buy black, hashtag please bank black, at least for February maybe, a campaign I'd love to see in February, if not maybe in other months as well, but at least in February. So I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I would say supporting black ambition. And maybe especially like with the challenge to DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion. I'm not a big fan of that, and I don't really believe in forcing companies to do things they don't want to do or behave in some way. I want to give people more choices, but maybe more black people need to learn how to network together, build businesses, network together, work together as teams, basically network together, invest together, learn from each other, build trusted platforms where they can learn how to invest together, that kind of thing, where they know the money is going to be safe, but instead of just saving it, learn how to invest, and that kind of thing. And I love to support black ambition in like things like politics and things like that, but also in like modelling, the movie industry, the music industry, that kind of thing. I love to support like producers, directors, actors, actresses, or wannabe actors and actresses to become actual actors and actresses, producers, directors, and people involved in making movies and music together, and that kind of thing, music producers, music directors, and that kind of thing. And look at how banks and businesses could support such things, including from their own community and potential allies. And whatnot. Maybe they could do it for PR purposes in many cases, or maybe they could be, I suppose I could say point number 3, as well as tax cuts for that community. They could. I'd love for that community to be tax exempt, but they could also be tax incentives for supporting black musicians, black people in movies, black movie producers, directors, and whatnot, funding their movies. So producers could be given funding. Apparently, a producer is the one who is in charge of like funding it and all that kind of thing, and the director obviously directs it. But yeah, they could be producers could be given tax cuts for and tax incentives for supporting black producers and that kind of thing. Maybe black directors. And I thought of a campaign. I think I might include that in part 2, and or 3 or 4. But yeah, in modelling, music, movies, banking, business, and different areas, I'd love to discuss ways to support them, whether that's providing tax incentives, lobbying for tax incentives, whether they could network together, whether they could build a trusted investment fund where they know that their money is going to increase in the long term, and they learn how to avoid scams and things like that, and work together. And I'm going to move on to point number 6, and I'd love to see Italian teams like AC Milan, Inter Milan, AC Monza, Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Roma, and other Italian teams generally, those 4 mainly, but Italian teams generally to have soccer academies, football or soccer or whatever you call it, as I've mentioned. Obviously, in America they would call it soccer academies, and maybe that would encourage the MLS, Major League Soccer, the EPL, the English Premier League, Liga, and others to do so. But as a fan of Italian football, I'd love to see that, and hopefully producing great players, producing making great players, or however you want to put it, developing great players, if you like, amongst the African American community, getting more African Americans into soccer and sports generally, and that kind of thing. But obviously, as a fan of Italian soccer or football or whatever you want to call it, I hope to focus more on that. And yeah, so basically, academies and supporters clubs like AC Monza, Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Roma, having those academies and sports clubs and that kind of thing, working with African Americans, and maybe even acquiring more investment from African Americans. Yeah, moving on, number 7, similar for Celtic. I love the same sort of thing for Celtic, and also maybe other sports teams as well, as the MLS, EPL, La Liga, and others might want to do similar. Certain teams like Barcelona or Real Madrid might want to do similar, Man United or whatever. But yeah, obviously I prefer that for Italian teams like AC Monza, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Roma, and whatnot, or Italian teams generally. I'll say Serie A teams and Celtic. I'm going to be more focused on those, of course. But yeah, I hope Italian teams will be first to it and will benefit the most from such deals, like investing in those academies and support the clubs, which hopefully will be a benefit in the longer term. And again, maybe African Americans could invest more in Italian football. I think I'm not sure, I don't think it's Jay-Z, it's Drake, perhaps, or LeBron James, or someone like that. One or two people who are invested in AC Milan, but I'd love to encourage more African Americans to invest in Italian teams like AC Milan or Roma or whatnot. I know Snoop Dogg said he wanted to invest in Celtic, and I think that would be pretty cool. Even if he gave the club some money to buy a player or two, I think it could enhance his PR. And number 8, I was thinking of also working with other minority groups and lobbying together for. Hopefully, I love for, if I'm really dreaming, I love for POC, people of colour, or even minorities, disabled people, as I say, non-Moors, people who are not white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, to be tax exempt, and also for tax incentives for funding the African American community, let's say, especially, or even minorities generally, but especially African American communities, which I hope to focus on more for Black History Month. And that kind of thing. But I'm going to move on. I was going to say it's in point number 7 or point number 8, but I thought it's in point number 9. I'd love to support producers and look at how they can plan together in business, how the Black community can plan together in business, banking, and different areas, tech, STEM, and that kind of thing. And I was thinking about music. I was thinking about the song "Still Dre," and I thought, what if they donated a certain percentage of their profits from the music video? Or even the song, however much money the song made in history, what they donated 10% of that to. I'd love for them to do that for Italian team like AC Mons or Inter Milan or AC Milan or Roma, and for for Celtic, and also if they donated 10% to of whatever they made from that song to young Black entrepreneurs, because part of the song it says "Still loves the young Blacks making money." So I thought it would be quite fitting if, like, say, if that song on YouTube, for instance, generated £100 million or whatever, $100 million or whatever, they could donate 10% of that, so that'd be 10 million to support young Black entrepreneurs, for instance, or Black entrepreneurs generally, especially young ones. And obviously, what they'd get back out of it, I suppose, is PR. More people would probably watch that video. Like, hopefully, let's say if they donated like 10% of that to Milan or Roma, hopefully, I say Milan, short for AC Milan. Hopefully that would mean more Milan fans or Roma fans or whoever it would be, and Celtic fans or whatever, would check out that music video, because they know that money would go back into their club, and more young Black people or Black people generally would watch the music video because they know that money would go back into investments. And number 10, I'd love to support young Black entrepreneurs, youngpreneurs, and that kind of thing, as much as possible. And I'd love to know any suggestions you have in the comments, and I'm out and peace and love. Please get involved in the discussion.